Us this morning. We'll go ahead and get started. Before I turn it over to Ken, Superintendent, do you have any updates?
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. It's good to see that you are here. And school doors are opening across our state. And I know within our advocate community that you're getting doors are, they're opening. So if we can be on the same page in shouting out the good work of our teachers, the good work of our administrators, and even our sports, our ADs, everything to help our schools open safely. I know that we at the OPI with our experts, we're here. So more that we can talk today about what this means, the better that we can serve our community, our education community. So with that, Dylan, we've got an agenda. Let's go ahead and proceed.
Yep, thank you, Superintendent. So first off, I'll turn it over to Ken Bailey and Cheryl Allen to talk about an aggregate hours update. Ken, do you want to go first?
Excuse me, had to unmute. So what's up on the screen is a guidance that we're looking to put out very quickly, and just want to run it through with everyone, see if there are any questions or any comments. What's causing this is a lot of anxiety on the part of some schools who've been calling in about how do we make sure that we meet aggregate hours requirements in the different kinds of scenarios that we're looking at throughout the state for conducting school this year. And so that's what the purpose of this is kind of reviewing all the options that are out there for aggregate hours. And in walking through this, we talked really about four things. The first is the declaration of an unforeseen emergency that I guess I got involved with a couple of years ago when the Rossiter Elementary School shut down because of flooding, and got involved with that statute at that time and hashing through it and all that kind of stuff. And so as is on here, the smart thing, and I know that last year when the COVID virus first happened, the School Board Association was very active in putting out sample resolutions and stuff for school boards to do this, but to declare an ongoing emergency. And the immediate effect of this is that the statute allows that you can miss a day of aggregate hours with no penalty. Then it also has the provision that a second resolution can be adopted that says that the school district has made a best effort to try and make up the time that has been lost because of the emergency. And if they adopt this resolution, then they do not have to make up the lost time. However, the statute has a clause that says that before a school board can do that, it must have made up 3 days' time, which we've always interpreted to mean time that is outside of the regular school calendar. So either through longer hours during the day or some days that were not scheduled to be in class or school, I should say, because it doesn't necessarily have to be in class, that once that has been accomplished, then any remaining time, there will be no penalty for it. The second thing, and it's really related to the third thing too, offsite learning, as everyone knows, there was the directive on July 31st that eased the restrictions. And of course, districts are able to count offsite instruction for aggregate hours. Online learning is covered under the offsite instruction statute, so that instruction time is also part of aggregate hours. And then the last is the proficiency-based learning that's been adopted in many school districts, which basically then looks at being able to meet the proficiency requirements rather than the aggregate hours, so that students that demonstrate proficiency are not required to meet the aggregate hours. So that's kind of the short and sweet of it. I'm going to pause here and look for questions or comments from you guys.
Ken, this is Emily Dean. Would you be able to email us this document?
Absolutely, it'll go in the follow-up from the meeting, but in addition, the idea is we're going to post this on our website as well.
Thank you.
And this is Cheryl, and under proficiency based, I would just add for folks to keep in mind that proficiency is defined by the local school district's trustees. It is not defined in statute. It is not defined by the OPI. That is the local school district's definition of what they deem is proficient.
Thanks, Ken and Cheryl. Are there any other questions or comments? Ken or Cheryl, do you have anything else to add on this topic?
Again, as you guys look at this, if there's anything you think could be improved, let us know.
Yep, and we'll go ahead and send that out after this meeting. And yes, Diane, we can talk about that at the end of the meeting here. I don't know how prepared Ken is to talk about it, and we'd probably maybe want to have Jay, or sorry, not Jay, but Jack get involved in a follow-up conversation. Right now, it seems that there's different interpretations at the national level about how wide-reaching that Washington court ruling was. But we'll talk about that a bit more at the end. Camille, can you talk a little bit about the school nutrition waivers that are secured for the upcoming school year?
Hi, absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Camille Biazzo, Assistant Director of School Nutrition at OPI. So I'll just give a brief overview of what waivers impact this current school year. And then we just received updated guidance from USDA on Friday. So I want to provide some clarification on common questions we've been receiving around meal service and these waivers with back to school. So since March, we've actually received 20 different waivers from the USDA. Luckily, only 6 apply to this school year, so that's good. Montana applied to these 6 waivers as a state agency, which allows schools the option to opt into the waivers if they choose. Schools can opt into any of the waivers on our school nutrition website, and schools are not required to take advantage of the flexibility. These are all options. So I'm going to list the waivers and then provide an explanation of each of them. The school year waivers include non-congregate feeding, meal times, parent-guardian meal pickup, meal pattern flexibility, offer versus serve flexibility, and then off-site monitoring by the OPI. For non-congregate feeding, the first waiver, this allows the schools to do grab-and-go meals or deliver meals for students that are doing remote learning. The second waiver, meal times, this allows meals to be eaten at a time outside of regular meal service, such as at home for grab-and-go. Schools can send meals home for multiple days at home for a time. So a parent could actually pick up 2 days worth of meals, a breakfast and a lunch for Monday and Tuesday for the remote child under this waiver. The third waiver is parent-guardian meal pickup. This goes along with the last 2 waivers I mentioned. If the school is sending meals home through grab and go, parents or guardians can pick up the meals without the students being there. For the fourth waiver, meal pattern flexibility, schools can ask for meal pattern flexibilities if needed for safe and consistent access to meals. This could be supply chain related or for other reasons. Some schools are struggling to meet things like the vegetable subgroup requirements, and so that would fall under this meal pattern flexibility waiver. The fifth waiver is offer versus serve. High schools typically are required to offer options at the meal service, but this year that might not be feasible, and schools can opt into this waiver if they just want to do a serve pattern for grab and go. This doesn't apply to the younger grades. It's only a requirement at high school. So you'd only apply for this if you have a high school that needs it. The final waiver is the off-site monitoring waiver. Our office will be completing reviews of desk audits for 2021. Schools would not opt into this. We opted into this as a state agency. So if schools are interested in any of the first 5 waivers, they would apply for those on our website. So I'm going to move into a couple points of recent clarification. So schools that run USDA programs, they have to return to the National School Lunch Program and School Breakfast Program when school resumes in the fall. So you have to go back to counting and claiming by free, reduced, and paid unless they're CEP. schools might have switched to the summer food service program during those unanticipated school closures in the spring, but when restarting in the fall, they must switch back to regular school year programs. The USDA doesn't consider delays in school starts as an unanticipated school closure. Schools that are currently running summer through typical summer months, they can keep running their summer programs actually until September 30th. Schools have to stop running the summer program when schools reopen for instruction in the fall. Instruction for us means in-person or distance learning instruction or mixed. If your school experiences an unanticipated school closure from October to April and is not providing any instruction during that closure, including distance learning, then they can do summer. We have also gotten quite a few questions surrounding whether schools are required to feed remote students. Schools are required to feed students who are not physically present at the school, such as if half of the students are remote and half are in person, only if the school opts into that non-congregate waiver I described earlier. It is optional for schools to use that waiver. So to wrap up, as a reminder, schools can opt into any of the available waivers on our website, or they can choose not to opt into any of the flexibilities. We are updating our Q&A, so all of the things I just mentioned will go into our updated Q&A document with that newest USDA guidance, and it will be available this week on our website. And the waiver survey is also available. I think you can see it on the screen. Yep, it's called School Nutrition Back to School Flexibility Survey. And I think that's all for me, so I'm happy to answer any questions at this time if there are any.
Thanks, Camille. I appreciate that update. Are there any questions about school nutrition? Well, thanks for that update, Camille. We know that school nutrition, especially this semester in light of COVID, is going to be kind of flexible and ongoing. So if there's any future waiver requests that we need to look at through the USDA, we'll be sure and keep you all updated. I'm going to stop sharing this screen. Sorry, I'm trying to find the web page that I need. Okay, there we go. So our last topic here is just frequently asked questions around school reopening. I'm sure that all of your organizations have been working on FAQs related to the specific school specialists that you serve. I know that I've been talking with McCall and DES about having consistent school FAQs up online on OPI's website and the main COVID-19 Montana webpage. So if you scroll down, I just added this last week. It's the most frequently asked questions that OPI is generally getting from parents. And can everyone see that document that I just pulled up? Okay. So these are the most frequently asked questions that we're getting from parents, teachers, and members of the public, general members of the public when they're calling in or emailing. This isn't reflective of the type of specialized questions that, say, Tim and Cheryl or Ken and some of our other OPI specialists are getting. We've just been getting a lot of calls from parents, teachers, and general members of the public. And so I'm trying to keep this Q&A as updated as possible for just kind of those high-level questions. And of course, you know, Tim and Cheryl and our other specialists across the agency, you saw Camille had a school nutrition FAQ. We'll try and keep these linked to that Reopening Montana Schools webpage and keep them as up to date as possible. But if any of your organizations are putting out FAQs or notice things that are missing, please let us know. We want to make sure that the guidance that we're putting out, whether it's from OPI or SAM or MHSA or the governor's office, that they're all consistent with the advice and the answers that we're giving to people. So that's all I had for this, was to let you know that we put this up. We would like to make sure that we're coordinating with any FAQs that are going out from your organizations, and so that schools and members of the public aren't getting mixed information. Does anyone have any comments or questions or want to share any FAQs that you're putting out?
Hey, Dylan, this is Smith from Senator Tester's office.
Hi, Smith. Thanks for joining us.
I missed last week, but we have gotten a lot of questions in our office regarding how OPI is tracking and monitoring the quarantines and positive cases in schools.
Thanks for that question, Smith. We're getting that a lot, especially national inquiries and national media inquiries are coming in about how schools are going to be doing things like handling COVID data and enforcing quarantines and all of that stuff. We feel it's really important for us to separate what is the work of county health departments and medical officials versus what is the role of education officials. And so what we've said is county health departments are going to be the leads. Of course, they'll work with school administrators to get timely information out to parents and staff. But county health departments are going to be the ones who are putting out recommendations for quarantining, for what data will be reported out to the public if there is a COVID case within a school, how to handle if there's a suspected case or someone has been exposed. We really don't want educators to be in the position of making those medical decisions. And so we've said they really should let the local health departments be the leads on that. Does anyone else have any thoughts on that? Kirk or Emily or McCall? Okay. Any other questions or comments or frequently asked questions that your organizations are getting? All right. Well, like I said, just continue to, please share that information. Like I said, I just posted this last week on Thursday or Friday, and Christy will send it out in the updates, and I'll continue updating this as we, get general calls into our line. And then the last topic, I guess we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about Diane's question. I'm sure everyone saw the Washington federal court ruling on the allocation of ESSER funds in the form of equitable services to private schools, and whether it would follow what the Department of Education put out, or if it's going to follow the traditional Title I formula. So Jack O'Connor is our specialist that's been working on this. He's the head of the National Title I organization. And what I would say right now is that we're still in the information gathering phase and trying to figure out the impacts of this court ruling. But Ken, do you have anything to add? You're still muted.
Thank you. I had trouble finding my unmute button. So Jack and I and our attorney, Julia Swingley, have been, exchanging information that we're getting from different sources to try and make sure we're totally on top of this. And the decision that was issued basically is an injunction against the department to basically not enforce or implement their guidance or the interim rule that was put in place for this. There's currently a debate going on as to whether the scope of that ruling applies just to Washington or applies to the whole United States. Again, there's been some articles where they've referred to different legal scholars who say that it should apply to the whole United States because there is no limit in the ruling itself. On the other hand, the Department of Justice attorneys filed a motion in one of the other cases this morning saying that they believe the scope is only limited to Washington. So again, as Dylan said, I think this is still playing out a little bit, and there's no official guidance that's come from the department on this. And as I said, we're basically following along to try and determine if it applies to Montana as well as Washington.
Thanks, Ken. Diane, do you want to talk a little bit about that, or does anyone else in the group want to discuss that?
The only question that I have, and I understand that this is still in play, and I don't certainly expect a final answer, but if this is upheld, is there a process to walk back those distributions that have already been made, or is that too far ahead at this point for you to contemplate?
So the process for walking back, it comes in different stages, because the first was the calculation of the amount that was done. And as you know, the schools had the option to either do it the Department of Education way or the traditional way. So far, no districts have chosen to do it the Title I way. So everybody's allocation who have private students did it the Department of Education guidance way. If we believe that this is now invalid and we have no guidance, we'll have to make a decision as to, so where does that leave us? Because the injunction doesn't say do it the Title I way, it just says don't implement the Department of Education way. But somewhere in there, we would have to have the school districts redo the recalculation. And at that point, each school district would have to determine, have they already distributed any funds to the private schools? I can tell you, based upon the amount of cash draws we've received from school districts so far, I don't believe that there has been much that has been done in providing the resources to the private schools. So again, if this can really get resolved in this week and we have some guidance on it, I think we can be pretty effective in stopping it. If it turns out that there's a case where private schools already received more money than they're entitled to, I have to admit, I don't know what we're going to do in that case. I imagine the law would say we have to take the money back, but in some cases where it's a service that's provided, I don't know how you do that. Yeah. So that'll be something we'll have to see if there are any cases as this gets hopefully resolved soon.
Thank you both.
Hey, Ken, this is Denise Williams with MASBO. I just want to make a clarification. You're referring to actual money going to the private schools. It's not actual money, is it? It's a value of services or resources, correct?
Denise, you're correct. And if what I said was taken to mean that the money goes to them, no, what I was referring to are materials or services that are provided to the schools.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
Thanks. Any other comments on this topic?
Yeah, hi, Ken. This is Kirk, and I just would reemphasize, I mean, this is the very point that Sam and others were trying to make at the very beginning when the equitable services issue came out, that we needed to have a way to be able to reapply if the ruling from the Secretary of Education was called into question, which it has been. And so, you know, I'm a bit concerned that we're not really sure what we would do. I mean, we would have to implement, and again, I would, you know, turn to the hard work that's been done here. And I know that we'll talk about that that's the way the equitable services is for public schools, but the administrators in every one of those schools are responsible for the distribution of those services to the private and home schools in a bigger way in Montana. And there's more and more choices for homeschool. And so I think the implications of this are bigger than maybe we have on record right now. And so I would ask, you know, the experts at the office to, you know, think about this and see how we would recoup the time, effort, and energy of the administrators that went out and found who requested the funding, have potentially begun delivering services that are adequate to the funding that would have gone to the private and home schools. And then secondly, it'll be their charge to, I guess, recoup from, if I heard you correctly, that the administrator of the public school would be responsible in going out and figuring out how to take back the services that have already been delivered in an adequate way that, you know, is within the realm of what the money is. So, I mean, that's just a general comment that I think we need to be thoughtful about what that looks like, because the potential of the implication of the Secretary's ruling, which on its face was discriminatory, is probably going to come to bear not only in Washington, but there's about 5 other states and their Supreme Courts or their district court that's looking at the same thing. So it's likely to be something that has an application throughout the United States.
Yeah, Kirk, and I hope you didn't take what I said to mean that we're sitting here doing nothing, because we're gathering the data of what the calculations have been for all of the school districts, trying to pull out what was done for Title I last year so we can kind of quantify exactly what the difference is. And we are in consideration of you know, what to tell school administrators, again, when the situation becomes clearer, which hopefully it will become clearer in a matter of days and not a matter of weeks.
Yeah, so I'm no way implying, Ken, that you're sitting around doing nothing. I respect it and value the great work that you're doing in all of these complicated situations. So just wanted to point out that I think that we're probably going to need to be able to help all our administrators understand how to roll this back after it got rolled out.
Yeah, I agree, Kirk.
Anything else on equitable services? All right. Any other discussion points that aren't on the agenda? Okay, well, we're coming up on 11 o'clock. Superintendent, do you have any last remarks?
Thank you very much, Dylan, and I appreciate the discussion. That's what this advocate meeting is about. We need to hear from you. We need to hear more from your understanding of where you're at so we can work on this together. It isn't an us versus them, and we are to support, all of us are to support and give a very, how do I say, precise understanding. Our schools right now are in a very uncertain time, and we can't not keep repeating that. We must repeat that. So we're all in this thing together. And if we can serve our schools right now, and from the level of administration, Dr. Miller, all the way down to our county superintendents, as well as to our business officials, the more that they understand that we're in this together, the better it's going to be. And that's what I'm asking for. I'm asking for a level of communication coming from you. We'll share things on our website. Well, hopefully that, you know, we can have this conversation about what is that same message that our schools need. Because ultimately, the better that we can serve them from our leadership role, from your leadership role, the easier it will be for that classroom teacher. So appreciate all the comments. We're here, we're willing. And of course, having the senator's office on or anyone from that congressional level can hear what's happening in Montana and carry our message forward. We're a local control state and we care deeply about our children in Montana. So thank you all. Please stay very well. We have a lot of work to do. And if we do this together in a unified message together, then we can serve even better. So with that, please stay well. Thank you, Dylan.
Thanks. Have a great week, everyone.